check. Hey, there we go. You some bitch. I don't know why. For some reason, it reset. Yeah, well, it should be on now. Is it good? Are we good? Good? Can you hear me? I'm getting sound on the thing. Hey, I'm guessing A means good thing. Yeah. Hey, you can hear me now? You can hear me now, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what, I don't know, like, Streamlabs is odd, man. Like, sometimes, like, I don't ever change my settings. Like, you know, like, when I first started streaming, I did a whole bunch of test streams, and I got them, like, perfect. And then, but, like, every once in a while, like, when I open up the program, it'll, like, reset, like, certain things. Like, I don't know if you guys, like, some of y'all that, like, come to a lot of the streams, like, like, a couple weeks ago, like, it was really echoey and shit. Like, I don't know why. Just sometimes it, like, resets certain things. It's quite the bullshit. Quite the bullshittery. But okay, yeah. So anywho, yeah, you guys are like, I'm like talking to myself, like trying to tell you guys, like, oh wait, no, like hold on a minute. I'm like, oh shit, they can't hear me. Like, why am I even talking? Just talking to myself here. But so anyway, let's get into it, because we got some shit to explore, man. Because Ted Cruz, that sly son bitch. Look at some things here real quick. Okay. Ted Cruz, turns out, is a bad person. Who would have thought, right? Ted Cruz, bad guy? Hot take, I know, right? Stop the presses. Ted Cruz is actually a piece of shit. So, okay. We might as well start from the beginning. If you follow me, I can hear you, bro. Yeah, and I know you can hear me now. Yeah, okay. Everything. All right. Okay. But so yeah, let's just start from the beginning. So, late last night, some pictures started surfacing of one Rafael Theodore Cruz, at the airport going to Cancun, Mexico. These pictures here, you got him here. There's Heidi, a man that clearly looks like Ted Cruz, because only 6 people in the entire world have this fucking haircut. You got this one, you know. Like, yeah, you know, like, okay, yeah, that definitely looks like Ted Cruz, you know, okay. He's wearing that mask. There he is, and arriving. And then you had, you know, more shit come out. And then one of the things that was shady right from the get-go was a lot of people, after these pictures surfaced, reached out to his office, but they wouldn't make a statement about anything. So, yeah, YouTube and Twitch links are in the bio, guys. If you want to come over so you can see what is going on. So, you know, a lot of people reached out to his office, but they wouldn't comment. And so people were like, well, okay, well, it's not confirmed, but they're not saying anything, so clearly something's up. And then it got confirmed, like, okay, he was definitely in Cancun. What I think they were going for is, the angle they were going for is he was trying to sneak back in the country, and so that way his office could be like, oh, Ted's not in Cancun. What are you saying? That way they don't have to say, like, oh, well, they don't have to outright lie, because, well, technically Ted's not in Cancun right now. Like, they, you know, not saying that he wasn't in Cancun, but, you know, they could put out a statement like, oh, Ted is not in Cancun. Ted is in Texas. Ted is in the country fighting for America, you know, some stupid bullshit statement like that. So they didn't put out a statement for a while. They find out, it was actually Fox News was the first to confirm it, which is hilarious, that Ted was in Cancun, but he tried to be slick and book a flight back in the morning, saying that, you know, or tried to book a flight back at 6 o'clock in the morning, so he didn't have to say like, "Oh, hey, I'm not in the country." And then, yeah, so he booked a flight back, and then he puts out this statement, kind of throwing his kids under the bus a little bit, which he went on to do more, but we'll get to that in a second. This is what he put out. This has been an infuriating week for Texans. Yeah, no shit, Ted. The greatest state in the greatest country in the world has been without power. We have food lines, gas lines, and people sleeping at neighbors' houses. Our homes are freezing and our lights are out. Like millions of Texans, our family lost heat and power too. With school canceled for the week, our girls asked to take a trip with friends wanting to be a good dad. I flew them down last night and I'm flying back this afternoon. My staff and I are in constant communication with state and local leaders to get to the bottom of what happened in Texas. We want our power back, we want our water on, we want our homes warm. My team and I will continue using all of our resources to keep Texans informed and safe. So, he puts out that little horseshit statement saying like, "Oh, I'm getting to the bottom of it," and saying like, "Oh yeah, I packed a bag even though my wife was with the kids. I had to come just to fly all the way down to Mexico just to fly straight back, just for the fuck of it, I guess, to be a good dad, to chaperone my kids, because apparently my wife, who Donald Trump thinks is ugly, can't do it on her own." He had like a giant suitcase. Like the whole thing just stunk to the high heavens. Let's see. Oh, and then we got this statement. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. This is what he had to say on the flight back, or in the airport, I should
last
say.
Night, dropped them off here, and now I'm headed back to Texas. And so I flew down with them last night. Dropped them off here, and now I'm headed back to Texas and back to continuing to work to try to get the power on. What's happening in Texas is unacceptable, and a lot of Texans are hurting. So
he just had to put on that Texas flag mask to, try and represent, like, "Oh, let me put this on while I lie to everybody." So he does that, and then we'll get to the Ted Cruz defenders in a second, because that's a whole nother level of ridiculous. And then so basically he gets back, and then he tries to, he's basically trying to play up that, "Oh, well, we did this spur of the moment. I wanted to be a good dad, drop my kids off there, come back, the kids were cold and freezing or whatever." But then text messages, this was just like within the last hour, text messages from Heidi get released from the New York Times that clearly show that he's lying about just dropping them off. So this is part of the text thread, or like basically a summary of the text thread. Text messages sent from Mrs. Cruz to friends and Houston neighbors on Wednesday revealed a hastily planned trip. Their house was freezing, as Miss Cruz put it, and she proposed a getaway until Sunday. Miss Cruz invited others to join them at the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun, where they had stayed many times, noting the room price this week was $309 per night, and it's good security. The text messages were provided to the New York Times and confirmed by a second person on the thread who declined to be identified because of the private nature of text. So while millions of people in Texas are freezing, dying, pipes bursting, like some of these videos I've seen on TikTok especially are just absolutely fucking tragic. These people just coming home and their whole house is flooded, like, kids not knowing what to do. The only thing they can think to do is just make a TikTok and just cry, like, because their house is fucking flooded. And this asshat and his family, who have the means, are staying at are abandoning the people that elected him to stay at the Ritz-Carlton for $300 a night. And then once he gets caught, he just completely lies about the whole thing. And this just came out, but he made this statement before, and he decides he's going to throw his children under the bus and play the, oh, I was trying to be a good dad. My kids were freezing. What would you do? That kind of bullshit. So this is the statement he made once he got back. This was just a little bit ago.
It certainly was not my intention for that to be understood as critics have tried to paint it as somehow diminishing the suffering and hardship other Texans had experienced. Look, Texans want this problem solved. I want this problem solved. I want the power on. We've got most of the homes that had lost power have gotten power back. That's a good first step. We still have water supply is still questionable.
Not thanks to anything you did, Ted.
Questionable in a lot of places, and that's frustrating. Having boil notices, that's frustrating too. We need to. The first thing we need to do is correct the immediate problem. And then the second thing we need to do is engage in the longer-term examination. As I said, that the operation and regulation of that is at the state level and not the federal level. But I think those questions, Texans want answers. And I'm glad the governor is calling for the legislature to investigate that, because I think that is an investigation that needs to happen.
Next question.
Sure. Senator Cruz, did you, a lot of people are calling your decision to go to Cancun during this time tone deaf? Did you come back because you felt guilty, or did you come back because you got caught and there was a lot of backlash for you going?
So the question from the video on the cell phone was whether the decision to go was tone deaf. Look, it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I was trying to be a dad, and all of us have made decisions. When you've got two girls who've been cold for two days and haven't had heater power, and they're saying, hey, look, we don't have school. Why don't we go? Let's get out of here. I think there are a lot of parents that'd be like, all right, if I can do this, great. That's what I wanted to do.
Now, Ted Cruz is a slimy son of a bitch. And I really don't have any expectations when it comes to somebody like Ted Cruz. But even for him, this is low. To be this idiotic to do something like this. Now, if you want to send your wife and kids down to Cancun in the middle of this horrendous, tragic event in your state, absolutely fine. You have money to do it. You have the means to do it. Send the family away on a vacation. But that you, a senator, would flee your state while it is going through a horrible crisis, and not, even though largely what you would be doing is symbolic, but just get out there to help deliver food. Get out there and just fucking, I don't know, grab a snow shovel and help shovel some snow. Do anything. Just, be out there and show that you're making an effort to help your people, because boosting morale, even though you're a slimy weasel fuck, is part of your job. That's part of what you need to do. You need to help. You need to make people have faith that you're trying to get things done. And you can help coordinate and do a lot of things on the ground and help in relief efforts. But the idea that after you get caught doing this ridiculous thing, that the strategy that you would come up with, and this is a strategy, he's been game planning this all day, ever since these pictures surfaced. Him and a fucking team of people have been deciding, okay, what do we go with here? What's going to play well? Yada, yada, yada. How are we gonna, work this in our favor? The strategy you come up with is like, hey, look, my daughters, they really wanted to go. I was trying to be a good dad. Like, you just throw your children under the bus. Even for Ted fucking Cruz, this is pretty low. And yeah, it's fucking mind-boggling that anybody can see this. Like, I got so many comments on my TikTok videos because a couple of them went pretty viral. So many fucking conservatives and Ted Cruz defenders, which is just a weird thing to be, being like, big deal. People go on vacation. It's like, what? Like, Texas is in a once in 100-year crisis, and one of the two senators says, all right, deuces, I'm going to Cancun. See you later, bitches. By the way, let's keep that privatized energy grid because fuck regulations, am I right? It's like, you just, holy shit, man. How can you defend this guy? How? Like, how? Just how? How can you not see this as a total dick move? I don't know. Just fucking mind-boggling to me. And let's finish up what he has to say here.
As I said, really from the moment I sat on the plane, I began really second-guessing that decision and saying,
glitchy
look,
chat? What does that even mean?
I know why we're doing this, but I've also got responsibilities, and it had been my intention to be able to work remotely, to be on the phone, to be on internet, to be on Zoom, to be engaged, but I needed to be here. And that's why I came back. And then as it became a bigger and bigger firestorm, it became all the more compelling that I needed to come back, because our priority should be fixing this problem and making sure it doesn't happen again. And I didn't want all the screaming and yelling about this trip to distract even one moment from the real issues that I think Texans care about, which is keeping all of our families safe.
Okay, thank you all.
Imagine having to realize you fucked up from Twitter. I mean, like, yeah, he had to come back because he was caught. Exactly. That's the only reason he came back. It wasn't because he didn't, like, see a bunch of tweets about it and realize, maybe this is a bad idea. He tried to be a sneaky fuck. He tried to sneak off, hope nobody would notice. You know, with the mask and the glasses, tried to disguise himself a little bit, and tried to sneak off because he didn't want to deal with the bullshit that policies that he backed created. You know, he's the one that wants to push for all this. Let's deregulate everything. Let's let the free market decide, which isn't really a free market, but whatever. Let's keep our power grid the way it is. Like, he's the one that's pushed for those policies. And when they completely fail, he gets to jump ship and just go to Mexico. And like, yeah, like, it just like him trying to say that, oh, I realized this was, a bad idea once I saw the reaction. It's like, no, dude, you got fucking caught. You knew this was a bad look from Jump Street. But, you know, whatever. You make a video on all the times he flip-flop. Yeah, a Ted Cruz video might be a good idea. I don't know if I can make a video on all the times he's flip-flopped, because that would have to be like a 17-hour video. But yeah, he is a fucking weaselly prick. And he's especially weird on Twitter. Like, Ted Cruz loves to, like, own the libs on Twitter. He lives for it. But I don't know. It's just like, this whole situation just shows what a miserable son of a bitch he is. And, you know, now people are trying to flip this, because not only are people defending Cruz, but they're trying to flip it like, oh, because Cuomo also did a bad thing. It's like, well, yeah, Ted Cruz did something bad, but did you hear about Cuomo? It's like, dude, more than one person can fuck up. But Ted Cruz is who we're talking about right now. But we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. Like, we can also say that Cuomo did a bad thing, but please spare me that, oh, you're not upset about Ted Cruz because some other guy did something. You see a lot of that. And there's also, you know, they do the thing like, oh, well, all politicians are stupid, so we don't need any of them there. Like, you people are absolutely ridiculous. Privilege at its finest. Yes, exactly. The only defense he should have used is that I have the means to make sure my family is safe. Yeah, and like that's exactly like if he would have sent his family to Mexico, I don't give a shit. Okay, yeah. Like you are privileged enough you can send your family away to Mexico during a crisis. That's what I would have done if I was a Texas resident and I had the means to. If I had a fucking wife and 2 kids, school's canceled for the week, yeah, get ghosts, get out of here. But dude, you're a fucking sitting senator of the state. You need to be there. Like you need to be on the ground doing something. I mean, there's a million things you could have done. There was some good this guy had a good take on it. People are saying Ted Cruz couldn't have done anything to help, but motherfucker could have bought and distributed groceries. He could have phone banked. He could have checked in on seniors like Beto did. Beto isn't even in office, and I'm not a fan of the guy, but he did something. And that's true. And I'm not a fan of Beto either, really, because I think he's mostly like a performative, just kind of, lib. You know what I mean? Like, he's just kind of like performative in everything he does. But he did something. He got out there and he contributed in one way or another. And Ted Cruz, at bare minimum, could have done that. And the fact that he didn't just shows what a piece of shit he is. Yeah, he did at least wear a mask. Thank God for that. And then breaking, Ted Cruz's daughter has requested a golden goose. But yeah. And this is more of what his wife said on the text messages. Anyone can or want to leave for the week, she wrote. We want to go to Cancun, she teased, in a direct flight and hotels with capacity. Seriously, Mrs. Cruz promptly shared details of a Wednesday departure and a Sunday return trip and a luxurious stay at the oceanfront. So, not only did he, like, even after he was caught, if he would have just fessed up, it wouldn't have been as bad. But it's that he just continuously lied about the situation. It just keeps, like, one thing after another. And I don't think he still hasn't totally fessed up about the whole thing. And then just at the end, to throw your daughters under the bus. It's like, dude, you have just, like, the slimy politician, he hit for the cycle of being a piece of shit, basically. Like the piece of the politician piece of shit cycle. He hit it. Fucking first, second, third, home run. He did it all. But then, because grifters gotta grift. Well, these aren't grifters, but here's some of the reactions, and I got a lot of this on my post too. It's like, so what? What's he gonna do? Produce electricity? Like, not the point. People are entitled to vacations. Grow up. What the hell is he supposed to do? Get the sun to come out? It's like, okay, again, not the point. These are all parlor bullshit. Everybody deserves some time off. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe don't take it when your state's in crisis, though. I don't know. Seems like a good idea to me. I'm sure he did not know about the storm when he made his plans. Oh, okay, yeah, not like you can't, Ted Cruz is fucking loaded. His wife works for Goldman Sachs. I think he can cancel a vacation. I don't think he's really worried about, losing out on a ticket price or whatever. Oh, don't start this bullshit. And let's see. Oh, then you got this dipshit. This guy. Terrence K. Williams. Where's it at? First they came up, first the conservative talking point was, oh, we don't know if this is real. This is, I don't know if you guys ever seen me talk about this guy, but this is like the MAGA comic guy. He still thinks Donald Trump is the president. Like he's like a stop the steal comedian, if that is such a thing. But we need a timestamp of the pictures of Ted Cruz going to Cancun. Where is the date on this picture? Where is the proof? and the pictures of him actually in Cancun. Where is the Cancun sign? He could be, he could have been on connecting flight, or this could have been an old picture. I'll wait for proof. It's like, dude, are you serious? And then it became, you know, once it got confirmed, and then they come with this bullshit. The same people complaining about Ted Cruz going to Cancun were laughing at the death of Rush Limbaugh. They said nothing about Cuomo being under FBI investigation for nursing home deaths. They don't care about people. They just love to do evil things and complain about conservatives. Okay, again, what Cuomo did, and he's under investigation by the FBI, is absolutely horrendous, and he needs to be held accountable for it. But Rush Limbaugh is an absolute asshole piece of shit propagandist who radicalized a bunch of people for 30 years, lied, and definitely 100% made the world a worse place. So fuck that guy. I don't care if he's dead or not. I wasn't like evildoer laughing at his death yesterday, but I didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care that he's dead. The world didn't lose anything. The only good thing that Rush Limbaugh ever did is he made Philip DeFranco become a content creator, because he had such a shit take on the Michael J. Fox Parkinson situation that Philip DeFranco made a video about it and became a content creator. And I like Philip DeFranco's news content, so I'm glad that happened. So that's the only good thing that Rush Limbaugh ever did, and it was by accident. So he's a piece of shit, so I don't really care if people are making fun of his death. That doesn't make you an evil person, that you made fun of Rush Limbaugh. Anyway. Blame your daughter at work day. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It wasn't a planned vacation. That's another big thing. And even if it was, like, who gives a shit? Like, Ted Cruz is not on a budget by any means. He is extremely rich. Like, he was he you know, pretty sure he worked for Goldman Sachs. He was a lawyer. His wife, I don't know if they both worked for Goldman Sachs, but I know his wife did. So, you know, they're by no means hurting for money. But yeah. And then, of course, well, here, we'll go back. Dinesh D'Souza, this was the other kind of shit take that was going around. What could Aunt Ted Cruz do if he was here in Texas? I'm hard-pressed to say if he is in Cancun, that means he's not using up valuable resources of energy, food, and water that can only be used by someone else. This is probably the best thing he could do for the state right now. Which is just really dumb. That's kind of that whole conservative, like, well, all politicians are just useless, so why have any of them? It's like, dude, come on. Really? Like, this is really how you feel? You mean to tell me if this was AOC that just bailed out on her state during a crisis, you would feel this same way? No, you would be fucking torching her to death. Like, can you just not be a partisan hack for 5 seconds? Like, this isn't like a like borderline thing. Like, this is one of the most tone deaf things I've ever seen a politician do. And like, they absolutely flipped out over Nancy Pelosi getting a blowout during a pandemic. Which, you know, fuck Nancy Pelosi. I'm no fan of her. But compared to this, that is fucking small potatoes. Then, here's an example. Ben Shapiro. It's not real-time crisis that Ted Cruz, a senator from Texas, can do anything about. Do they expect Ted Cruz to go there with like a blowtorch and start defrosting all the pipelines? And then, Between Pelosi eating ice cream while people head to the bread lines and Pelosi getting a blowout while business owners are barred from opening, she's definitely got a Marie Antoinette thing going on here. So yeah, that's kind of what these people are at. And then to just the icing on the cake, Tim Pool, our favorite, made a video about the situation. And of course, he had a little bit of criticism for Ted Cruz, but you know, he's got his there's always a but, basically.
Storm is wreaking havoc across this country. In Texas, the grid is failing and millions of people are without power. People who don't know how to deal with winter weather are seeing pipes burst in their homes because it's getting so cold. A little bit of advice to everybody. Double check this for sure. But we were always told in Chicago, keep the water running. You're in an old building, the pipes can get cold. You just get the water to run a little bit, and that will prevent the freezing, the cracking, the exploding. Anyway, Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, who's supposed to be a leader, did one of the dumbest things a politician could do, and he hopped on a plane to Cancun while people in his state were suffering. Now, I got to be honest with you, everybody. There's not a whole lot Ted Cruz could do as a senator right now. The Senate is not in session. I suppose he...
Not the point. Not the fucking point, Tim.
He can just sit around and wallow, you know, in the power outage. Maybe he should. Or as a political leader, he could, I don't know, provide food, warm food, blankets or something. Look, I'm not...
Correct. Notice the title of the video. Democrats feign outrage over Ted Cruz flying to Cancun. Over flying to Cancun and ignore Cuomo being under investigation. Like, he can't just make a video about Cuomo. He has to splice it in with the Ted Cruz thing, which both deserve criticism. But he can't, you know what I mean? Like, he can't just criticize Ted Cruz for doing an objectively shitty thing. He's got to mix it in with some little bit of Cuomo in there.
I'm not saying it's the job of Ted Cruz to go around on a blanket drive or anything like that, but optics matter.
I mean, why not?
And right now, the number one trend on Twitter is Ted Cruz flying to Cancun. Well, the big news is he apparently turned around already, but wow. What were you thinking, dude, flying to Cancun at a time like this? It's just silly. But I gotta be fair. I don't care. I really do not care. And I think the people on the left who are claiming they do care are lying. And I think Republicans are too stupid, the politicians, mind you, to figure out they're being lied to. Did we see this level of outrage a number one trend when it was announced that Governor Cuomo, for instance, literal governor of a whole state, murdered people? What about
Yes, everybody came after Cuomo, and it did trend number one. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. But that was yesterday's news. That trended yesterday. This came out today, Tim, and now it's like, oh, I don't care. Even though every time, whether it was Gavin Newsom or Nancy Pelosi or any one of the number of people on the left that did hypocritical shit during this whole pandemic, you criticized them and made several videos about how they were hypocrites. But yet when Ted Cruz flies to Cancun on a surprise vacation during a once in 100-year, this isn't a 12-month event like the pandemic. This is a 1 week, a 10-day event crisis down in Texas that needs immediate action and relief. And Ted Cruz is one of the two senators for that state, and he jets out to Cancun. Had this been anybody on the left, Tim Pool would have made a whole nother channel dedicated to criticizing them. But when Ted Cruz does it, it's like, oh, well, it was kind of silly, but I don't care. But, you know, did you hear about Cuomo? And then he uses Twitter trending, which anything can trend. fucking BTS fan videos trend number one all the time. Anything can trend number one as his barometer for what's popular.
Let me ask you. If you, maybe you'll disagree with me on this one.
Probably.
If there was Ted Cruz flying to Cancun, right, in the middle of this crisis, or the governor of New York facing an FBI probe into the killing and cover-up of thousands of people, which one do you think the Democrats would push as the number one trend? I know many of you are saying, come on, Tim. If there was...
Again, first of all, Cuomo is a Democrat, and whether it's good or bad or whatever, there is always going to be a level of partisanship. And even though obviously what Cuomo did was bad, but he wasn't actively trying to kill people. Like, clearly he fucked up. He had a bad policy, and he didn't come clean about it. That's the thing with the Cuomo story. Like, he didn't come forward and say, like, hey, look, I fucked up. But he wasn't actively trying to murder people. That was not his plan. He screwed up at the beginning of a pandemic, and parts of the media didn't hold him accountable, especially CNN, which has now barred his brother from interviewing him anymore. But he didn't, saying, oh, he tried to murder people is not true. He put a bad policy in place that he shouldn't have, and instead of coming forward with it like he should have, he tried to cover it up, which is really, really bad. But again, you can criticize Cuomo and also criticize Ted Cruz, Tim. It's okay. You can do it. But no, can't do it.
Breaking news about Cuomo being investigated for literally killing people and covering it up, of course, the good-hearted and honest Democrat media would be focused exclusively on that. Yes, we should criticize Ted Cruz, but it's not like there's breaking news about New York Governor Cuomo under investigation for nursing home deaths. Oh, wait, I'm reading the title from ABC News, and guess what?
You mean the thing that came out yesterday? Does Tim know what world we live in now? This came out yesterday, Tim. This was breaking news yesterday. Today is the 18th. This was on the 17th.
Not trending. No kidding. Take a look at this. The number one trend right now is Ted Cruz.
Cuomo trending number one. Oh my God. See, Tim Pool doesn't actually vet his stories before he does this video. How did he didn't edit that? Oh my God. See, this is proof that Tim Pool doesn't even fucking proofread his stories before he actually uploads a video to YouTube. This isn't a live stream he's doing or anything. This isn't off the cuff. He actually uploaded this. Oh, does this mean at least he's stupidly honest. Cuomo trending number one, 209,000 tweets. And that's within an hour. That's how Twitter does it. What a fucking schmuck.
Cruz. What's happening? Senator Ted Cruz travels to Cancun amid crisis in Texas. Fox News, AP, and CNN report. Okay. It does say that Cuomo is trending. Politics trending, 209,000 tweets. So I decided to look into it, and it turns out it's not really trending. Cuomo, at least, when I checked it last time, the number one trend is Ted Cruz.
It is trending. It just said it was trending. But again, it constantly changes throughout the day what is trending number one. It switches out.
The number one trend is Ted Cruz. So I looked down saying, is Cuomo in here at all? Thursday Vibes, Johnny Cage, Sub-Zero, Legolas?
These are all different topics, as you can see, entertainment, K-pop, there's different topics. That's not just the top. When you look at the trending list for Twitter, it sometimes goes by different things that you look at, or these are different categories. It's not just the exact everything that's trending right then.
Okay. Saudi Arabia, AFC, Brett and Yoko. No.
And again, the news about Cuomo broke yesterday. That's why it's not trending number one.
Cuomo may be politically trending for some people, but the number one trend in the United States right now is Ted Cruz. So don't you come to me and tell me there is no double standard. The
Oh, somebody's salty that he fucked up. Like, instead of just editing it and like redoing the video, he just has to get mad about it.
Democrats don't care about what's really going on that's important. They just want an excuse to attack a Republican. Here's the news from KHOU. They say Senator Ted Cruz has flown to Mexico for a family vacation as his home state suffers through a winter storm crisis, according to multiple reports. The high-profile Republican senator traveled with his family for a long-planned trip to Cancun and was expected to return immediately, according to a source with direct knowledge of the situation who spoke on the condition of anonymity. It's not clear if the return flight was booked because of the uproar by angry, frustrated Texans, but flight records show Cruz apparently upgraded to business class under his real name of Rafael for the afternoon return flight. Oh, interesting. Millions of people across the state have suffered without power during bitter cold weather, followed by busted pipes and low or no water pressure. Meanwhile, photos of Twitter show Cruz at the airport.
Anyway, you get the idea. I'm not gonna he's just gonna go on forever about it. But this is the kind of shit that they're doing. Like, this is the game plan. First, it was deny that it was real. That was the first game plan. Like, oh, we don't even know if these photos are really him, and when were these taken, and yada yada yada, all that shit. And then it was, oh well, but what about Cuomo? What about Hunter Biden? I got that one a lot for some reason today. What about Hunter Biden? As if Hunter Biden fucking holds any political office. Like, I mean, I guess I understand because Hunter Biden's like the biggest fuck up they can point to. But I don't know what their obsession is with Hunter Biden. Like, oh, what about Hunter Biden? It's like, okay, well, when he's the fucking senator of a state, I will gladly hold Hunter Biden accountable if he ever goes on vacation during a once-in-a-100-year crisis that, unfortunately, due to climate change, is no longer a once-in-a-100-year crisis. But anyway, you get the idea. But then after that, it's, oh, well, look at what these Democrats did. And because this one Democrat politician did something bad and it didn't trend for 4 weeks on Twitter, Democrats don't actually care and they just want to blame Republicans. Like, again, this is if you're wondering where a lot of the talking points come from, it's from this shithead right here. And, you know, shitheads like him. And when you get in your internet beef, no, this is where they get their ammo from. But yeah, that is, I think that's the latest. Pretty much on the Ted Cruz saga. So what, he wants to force people to make Cuomo trend? Yeah, well, it's just a way to say, like, oh, see, they don't really care because Cuomo did something bad, and not everybody. Cuomo did something, like, in Twitter, it, like, things only trend when they're like breaking news. For instance, like, everybody yesterday broke the news about Cuomo, and all the reporters will tweet it out, and because the name, Andrew Cuomo is in what they tweet, that's what it goes by. It's not just hashtags. Like, it's literally, like, the name Ted Cruz is coming up the most right now. So that's why it shows it on trending. And yesterday, when the Cuomo story came out, all the reporters, they tweet it. So then the people that follow them, they see that tweet, and then they retweet it. And then that's what makes it trend. You know what I mean? Like, because the name Cuomo has been pushed out so many times, that makes it show up in trending. And seeing as the stories came out yesterday, that's when it trended. So it's got to be a pretty huge story for something to trend 2 days in a row. Even as big as this Cuomo story, this Ted Cruz story is, I'm pretty sure, I would almost guarantee that by tomorrow night, Ted Cruz and this whole situation is not trending in the top, whatever, 30 or however many it shows, unless like new developments come out. You know what I mean? It's just not how, it's just how Twitter works. It's 24 hours, just like our news cycle, bam, we're on to the next thing. So, like, him saying that, Cuomo didn't trend for 48 hours, is just a horseshit talking point. But he's got to come up with something to, shift the blame. Let's check out some of the comments on this. Fake outrage, typical of people deflecting their own lies and issues. There wasn't this much outrage when governors and mayors shut down their economy to go to Mexico and Hawaii for vacation immediately, or even after or even to hair salons and restaurants. Fake outrage. Okay. Was there a bunch of mayors and governors? Like, nobody's saying you can't go on vacation. Like, not for the it's not, this isn't a 12-month, 18-month, 6-month thing down in Texas. This is a sudden catastrophic event where people don't have power and they need immediate response and relief. It's not a months-long event. So trying to compare it to the COVID situation that's been going on all year long, or people going to hair salons or restaurants, it's just ridiculous. I don't even know why I'm trying to rebut comments in Tim Pool's video, because, obviously they're just ridiculous. Imagine the media reaction if Trump was president and didn't travel to Texas yet. Biden sent aid and stuff. I don't know what. Yeah. This just in: man who lives in state that recently cold get. Yeah. Okay. That. This just in: man who lives in state that's recently cold goes somewhere warmer. More at 11. God, these people are fucking driving me nuts. Swear to God. Okay. So we'll come back to that. Let's see what next. But yeah, okay. Anyway, while you guys are here, if you could like the stream, really appreciate it. All my links are down in the description. Follow me on Twitch. All that jazz. Yeah, no, I would definitely say Biden's been more on the ball with relief than Trump would have been. Remember the Puerto Rico thing when they like begged for help for weeks, and like all he did was like go and pass out paper towels, like he's fucking shooting hoops. And let's not, talk about the COVID response. We could get into that as far as Trump goes. Let's see, what next? There's so many interesting stories today. I don't even know where to go. That's enough Ted Cruz. I don't know. Should we? We had the GameStop hearings. We had that story. Let's do okay. It's just something I feel needs to be talked about real quick.
Texas electricity is all fucked up because Republicans wanted electricity to be run like a business instead of a government.
It's Thursday night.
Okay, shut up.
It's Wednesday.
I hate this new format that TikTok has.
Texas electricity is all fucked.
Okay, so sure you guys know Hurricane Maria, yeah. Yeah, remember when the fires when Trump said to they needed to rake the ground more or whatever. I can't. And he got the name of the town wrong. They were in Paradise and he called it Pleasure or something. God, it's so hard. Like, to actually sit down and think about all the ridiculous shit Trump did would take forever. I know the one guy I follow on TikTok, Heavy Politics, or I think we're mutuals actually. He has like a running, he has like a long list of shit that Trump did, and it was like at 2,000 different things, and that was like during the summer. Like, just to even try to put together all the ridiculous shit he did would take forever. But anyway, so, alright, everybody knows Marcus on TikTok, if you're on TikTok. He's a news guy. And he made this video talking about the Texas situation. And then Papa Gut made a response that was absolutely ridiculously wrong. And we'll get into that. We'll segue into that. And it kind of works out. But Marcus usually gives informed takes. But I think he kind of demonstrates one of the reasons we have a media issue in our country. And that is that people on the right just completely disregard most people in the media because they think they're snooty, they think they're stuck up, they think they're, they have like this like arrogance about them, and they don't like that. And they don't like people that think they're better than everybody else. And this just like is that to a T. Like the way he, has like this, oh, well, you voted for it, you fucking dummy, really just shows like why people were able to fall for Donald Trump's bullshit and the don't trust the media narrative, because they're a bunch of stuck up assholes. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure a lot of you have, but just in case you haven't, I'll play it.
Fucked up because Republicans wanted electricity to be run like a business instead of a government service. As we all know, businesses have to make a profit in order to exist. The problem is that businesses generally do what's necessary to make money and don't actually give a shit about customers, so they have to be forced to take care of their customers by rules created by the government. Well, Republicans don't like rules either. They call them government regulations. Enjoy your power blackouts, Texas. You voted for them. Texas electricity is all.
Now, everything he said up until that last part is pretty much true. Now, he doesn't do like extremely informative takes. Like, it's just kind of like very surface level. Here is a basic explanation of the situation. Like, there's more, obviously a little more to it, but that's not his thing. But to say, when 4 million people don't have power, people are freezing to death, people are dying of carbon monoxide poisoning, and, like, the whole state is just fucking chaos because them Southerners just don't know how to handle snow. And you find out real quick, if you live in a southern state, that snow is not fucking fun if you don't know how to deal with it. Like, snow is a real pain in the ass. I've always said, being a Minnesotan that I am, that snow just basically makes everyday life more difficult. And that's me living in Minnesota, a state that is most definitely prepared for snow. I couldn't imagine, like, I remember being in Georgia one time, it snowed like 1/4 of an inch, and the entire fucking state shut down, it seemed like. In fact, the mayor lost an election in Atlanta, basically because of that situation. But like, this is a golden opportunity for people to see how voting for Republicans and GOP policy, how it affects their daily lives, and how who they vote for can really affect their outcome. Because most people, honestly, if you're not paying attention to politics, if it doesn't affect you, you're either not going to give a shit, or you're just going to go with the flow of the people you're around. Like, if you hang out with a bunch of Trump supporters, or just people that tend to lean right, you're probably going to vote for right-wing politicians, if you vote at all. Like, this is a golden opportunity to show people, like, hey, because of X, Y, and Z policy, this fuck up happened, and it's going to continue to happen if you keep voting for these people. And this guy isn't just some fucking, guy. He's a blue check mark person with 2.6 million followers. He's probably the biggest left-leaning creator, news person on the entire app. So this was a golden opportunity for him to show and explain to people why voting for Republicans in Texas is a bad idea, because they're going to continue to keep these energy grids unregulated, and that is bad, and this is going to happen again. They outlined all this shit in 2011. They told people exactly what they needed to do, or told these companies exactly what they needed to do. Surprise, surprise, they didn't do any of it. And now here we are 10 years later, and it happened again. So you completely blew that by, at the end, just saying, oh, well, freeze to death, you voted for it. And that was my biggest problem with it. Because I make fun of people on the right too. And, I understand, like, you want to have your opinion and be snooty. But, like, this was just stupid. Like, this was just really, really dumb. And you blew, like, a golden opportunity. Because at the end of the day, like, I want to win. And when you do shit like this, when people in positions of power, like with big platforms, do ridiculous shit like this is why we lose. And this is why one reason why people don't trust the media. At least that was my take on it. Like, there's no reason to gloat here. Yeah, and then, I make this point in my video, like I made a video about this, and I get a bunch of people like, oh, well, they did vote for this. It's like, well, first of all, not everybody voted for this. And there's a lot of people that don't vote. And there's a lot of people that are on the fence, and maybe they lean a little more right than they do left. But if they see an opinion like this, like, dude, they're not going to take you seriously. Maybe they're just getting into politics, or, they just turned 18 and they've never been able to vote for 4. They don't know shit about politics. Like, do you think somebody who lives in Texas who's not really informed about the issues is going to listen to you after you say, hey, freeze to death, fucker, because you voted for the other people after all? You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is a crazy QAnon supporter that's just full on Trump. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to win everybody over. We just have to win enough. And when you do shit like this, you totally, like, you lose all credibility because you just come off like a dick. But anyway, so segue from that.
All fucked up because Republicans wanted electricity to be run. It's Thursday night. A Republican senator from Texas.
Also, I don't know. Marcus's videos are like so matter of fact. There's no flavor to them. Segue from that.
Excess electricity is.
So then Papa Gut made a response to the video, but his critique was not of what he said at the end, but of the rest of the message. And I don't know, like, what he said was just absolutely ridiculous. I made a video about it earlier, but it got like no views. So even though the people watching this live stream were probably the only ones that actually saw it. But anyway.
Is all fucked up because Republicans wanted electricity to be run like a business instead of a government service.
Well, thank God you put opinion over your head, because what you're saying is absolutely non-factual. Yes, private business does run electricity in Texas, but their electrical issues have...
Yeah, it seems like you're talking to yourself there, Sasha. I don't know. Not very many chatty Cathys. This is what happens when I take a 1 week break. The chat's mad at me. But yeah.
Nothing to do with that, and everything to do with the fact that the state in general was not prepared for the freezing temperatures and snow that they got. You're being so critical of the electric companies.
Again, like, I don't know, I don't want to understand what he means by that, because Marcus said Republicans. Like, what do you think Republicans are? Republicans are the state, Papa. Like, I'm not, that's weird. Okay. The Republicans are the state, Mr. Gut. That's what he's criticizing. He is criticizing the state when he says that, because Republicans who make the policy of no regulations are the state. Like, he's criticizing the state when he says that. The state not being prepared is on the shitty GOP policy, and that's what he's criticizing. Or it's one of the things that he's criticizing.
But why aren't you being critical of the state itself for not being prepared to deal with the snow at all? Also, you mentioned profits being a problem. They're really not. It's generally irrelevant whether something's government owned or private owned. The biggest issue.
Yeah, no, I'm switching to, I'm gonna go exclusively on Twitch at the end of the month. Just FYI for all you guys on the thing. At the end of the month, I'm going Twitch only. I just want to give everybody, like, my YouTube audience time to move over. But yeah, just all Twitch all the time at the end of the month.
Issue is when there's lack of competition. That's why the transportation system in New York is
whole
hemorrhaging
fucking
money.
thing.
They don't have
God
to
damn
give
it.
a shit if they're not providing the service they're getting paid for. They just demand more and more money, and they know that you can't turn anywhere else. Lastly, if you're going to talk about how shitty of a state Texas is because it's Republican, then why are people from California and New York going down there in fucking droves?
All right, we gotta watch it
Texas
one more time.
electricity
Hold
is
on.
all fucked up because Republicans wanted electricity to be run like a business instead of a government service.
Well, thank God you put opinion over your head, because what you're saying is absolutely non-factual. Yes, private
Like, again, like, he says that, and then he agrees with everything he says, and then totally brings up a different point at the end.
business does run electricity in Texas, but their electrical issues have nothing to do with that, and everything to do with the fact that the state, in general, was not prepared for the freezing temperatures and snow that they got. You're being so critical of the electric companies, but why aren't you being critical of the state itself for not being prepared to deal with the snow at all? Also, you mentioned profits being a problem. They're really not. It's generally irrelevant whether something's government owned or private owned. The biggest issue.
That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You mentioned profits being a profit. You mentioned profits being a problem. They're generally not. What does that even mean? Do you think working, like, what isn't a problem when it comes to profits? Do you think working conditions aren't a problem when it comes to profits? You think the way a company does its infrastructure isn't because of profits? Like, everything a company does, especially a publicly traded company, is based on profits, and they skimp on every little thing, whether it's medical, it's in the, medical field, or anything, fucking bridge builders, everything is all based on profit motive. And the more profits they can squeeze out in these, a little bit here, a little bit there, the more money they make. So profits are almost always the problem. I don't really know what the fuck that even means. Like, profits are, and also it doesn't matter if a company's public or private. I mean, again, what does that even mean? Like, that's not, like, that's just like a general statement. It doesn't even go to anything about the video. Like, the point of, like, it's weird because, like, now I'm kind of defending Marcus's video and I just criticized it, but his point is that Texas wanted this unregulated Wild West free market for their energy companies, and that's bad because guess what? If you're unregulated and you don't have to answer to anybody, then guess what? When people come along and they say, hey, if you don't fix these things, maybe once, like, every 20 years, we're going to have a serious issue. You think they're really going to take it seriously? No, they're only going to do it if they're forced to do it. Like, go look at any country that doesn't have regulations on, like, like building codes and stuff like that. Fucking houses cave in like every other day, and they're all like fucking stacked on top of each other, like Legos.
Issue is when there's lack of competition. That's why the transportation system in New York is hemorrhaging money. They don't have to give a shit if they're not providing the service they're getting paid for.
Like, again, this is supposed to be a video about the Texas power grid, and he's like, well, this isn't the problem in Texas because look at the fucking transportation issues in New York. Like, what? That's a completely separate issue. I don't understand what this. Why does everyone? I wouldn't even call Papa conservative. I don't know what he is. He's like a weird libertarian hybrid. But I don't know why it is they can't like stick on one issue. They always conflate other issues with the thing. But I don't know. I've read several articles about the whole Texas thing, and this is the one I found that kind of describes the situation the best. So we can go through that quick. Again, there's a little more to it. Like, but basically, well, I'm here. We'll just go through it. But okay, so millions in Texas are still in the dark following the deadly winter storm that caused the state's worst blackout in decades, leaving households without power as temperatures drop to record lows. While the state scrambles to restore power, hold on, let me shim the sham a little bit here. Okay. While the state scrambles to restore power, questions are arising about why Texas is so ill-equipped and why we can't. And again, this is CNBC. This isn't like some lib fucking outlet. Like, this is CNBC is just money. You know, they're about business. So they're one of the better ones to kind of break it down. And actually, there's a good video too. I mean, we'll watch that real quick. But okay. Looking forward, experts say there are a number of steps they can take. I might have skipped over a part. I'm not sure. Can take to combat future issues, including weatherizing equipment and increasing reserve margins. We need to better realize how vulnerable our energy systems are, both electricity and the vulnerability of electricity, natural gas systems. Hold on. Daniel Cohen, associate professor at Rice University. This is going to take some regrouping, and there's not going to be a single step. We're going to need a portfolio of steps, and this is kind of where it gets into it. The storm dumped snow and ice across the Midwest and South, taking power production offline just as consumers turned up their thermostats amid frigid temperatures. No power source was immune. Coal, natural gas, crude, wind, and solar production all dipped. Pipelines freezed and impeded the flow of natural gas and crude oil. And again, that was another thing that conservatives were trying to blame, like green energy, and that really wasn't the case at all. While all power systems had an issue because the infrastructure was bad, because they tried to skimp out on things, the main source of the issue was natural gas and crude oil. The outages were concentrated in Texas as the grid was forced to shed load, unable to keep pace with the spike in demand. At one point, more than 4 million people were out of power. It was a black swan event from the demand side and supply side, and the freeze-off created this supply issue, says Michael Bradley, managing director at Tudor Pickering, blah, blah, blah. He noted the equipment freezing is not a headline event. However, over the weekend, all 254 Texas counties were placed under weather advisory warnings, which is rare. Typically, if a cold front hits one area, production moves elsewhere. This wasn't possible this time around, and icy roads meant equipment couldn't be serviced. Where does it get? Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. Should have skipped that other part, but whatever. Of course, power equipment operates in places that are much colder than Texas. So one step that can be taken would be to winterize equipment. The state is used to extreme heat and drought, but its infrastructure is simply not equipped to operate in extreme cold. They have the infrastructure in place that meets 99.9% of the time, said Rebecca Babin, senior equity trader at CIBC Private Wealth. On these trail events, they're really ill-equipped. They're not incentivized to invest in infrastructure to make those improvements. Exactly the point. They don't have no reason to do it, so they don't do it. Texas has a standalone power grid that's deregulated. The majority of the state's power is controlled by the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, which is known as ERCOT. It's a competitive pricing market, meaning it trades on supply and demand. Companies are trying to bring the cheapest form of energy to the market, which can come at the expense of building out more reliable infrastructure systems. Texas has chosen to operate its power grid on an island, noted Rice University's Cohen, which means the state can import power from other states when it's most needed. He added the impacts are also felt in the summer when Texas has an abundance of power that it can't export. And then it talks about increased reserve margin. The severity of the storm was underestimated, including by ERCOT. Ahead of the inclement weather, ERCOT estimated how much power it would need under various scenarios, but the reality exceeded even its extreme weather forecast. The magnitude of the forecast error was massive, said consultant firm ICF International. ERCOT does not have a reserve margin, the amount of excess supply needed to meet peak power demand, but since the market is unregulated, companies don't want to shoulder the cost. Rising the reserve margins would mean that crises of this magnitude could potentially be avoided down the line. While it would be difficult to force an increase in reserve margin, incentives could spur adoption. Portfolio manager or Matt Bearden, portfolio manager at I can't fucking talk tonight, at Ecofin, called the Texas grid a Wild West market designed based on short-term price runs. Were Texas connected to the broader grid, it might be it might have a more stable resource portfolio to handle this event. So basically, it sums up that it's a bunch of companies just shooting from the hip, trying to get the cheapest price they can to give the cheapest product. So, you know, and since there's nobody, since they're kind of on their own island, like there's 3 power grids. There's one that controls, you know, or the Midwest and East Coast, the West Coast, and then there's one for the West Coast, and then Texas is on its own little island. And they're not, I think it's like in 1930, there was like a energy, whatever. There's like a federal energy regulations thing created. But Texas is not subject to any of that because they're completely on their own. So, like when one state has energy issues, like Kansas also had a lot of energy issues, but seeing as they're part of the, you know, the rest of the country's grid, they can, pull resources from the rest of the countries or from the rest of the states. Texas can't do that. So, saying that the only problem is competition is just absolutely absurd. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but you know what I mean. And ERCOT rates, just let us, yeah. Hey, that was another thing. Where was that at? Power price jumps. With utilities scrambling to keep the lights on, power prices are surging across Texas as contractual obligations force companies to buy at any price. CIBC's Babbitt noted that Texas' unregulated markets is exacerbating the price swings as energy producers are forced to buy megawatts in the open market. Some of the heightened costs could end up on Texas consumers' utility bills. Companies such as Gritty would blah, 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 blah. But anyway, okay. The power price is usually about $20, $30, or $40 per megawatt hour. And because of extreme events, the price of power hit the $9,000 cap. That means it went from $40 per megawatt hour to $9,000, which I guess is the cap. So yeah, it's just a complete shit show. And then one of the things, this was just absolutely absurd to me. I think I have it saved here somewhere. Fucking, what's his face? Rick Perry? Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Rick Perry says Texas wants to keep grid unregulated. Yeah, okay, there we go. Rick Perry says Texas would rather go without electricity than give the federal government more power over them. Like, says fucking who, man? Who is saying this? You mean like the oil millionaires? Like, I don't think anybody sitting at home right now in Houston freezing their ass off is like, you know what? I'd much rather freeze than give the federal government more control over our power grid. I bet that's exactly what people sitting at home are fucking saying right now. Yeah, these people are just ridiculous humans, man. I swear to God. Yeah, exactly. Canada has in Minnesota we have a lot of wind power. And the craziest thing was, like, I don't know, I've told you guys before, like, I have a lot of conservative friends on Facebook. Just a lot of the people I grew up with. This is a good little breakdown of some of the bullshit that they pulled.
If you're in Austin, Austin has been one of...
But I have a lot of conservative...
What separates a harmless loner in a flat earth state?
Stop.
If you're in...
But I have a lot of conservative friends on Facebook, and I live in Minnesota. And a lot of these people that I know in Minnesota that are conservative are sharing all these stories about how, green energy can't work because it freezes in these temperatures. And it's like, dude, you live in Minnesota. Like, we have wind energy. It doesn't freeze. How can you buy this ridiculously dumb talking point? Like, you live in a state that has a lot of wind energy, and it gets ridiculously cold. Like, it is, it's been like -30 with the wind chill a couple days this past week. Like, it has been ridiculously cold here. But guess what? We haven't had anything freezing because we didn't cheapen out on our infrastructure. We actually, did what we needed to do because, regulations are a good thing. And, it gets cold up here. But this guy, he's like a power expert or something, but he was one of the ones that filed the report in 2011, but because it was voluntary, they didn't do any of it.
You're in Austin, Austin has been one of the hardest hits. I've seen pictures where the downtown is lit up, and you got areas outside all the way to Bastrop and whatever that are completely in the dark. Before you give us your expert opinion on what happened, what is your situation with your friends and family? Do they have heat?
So we finally have power back. So we were one of the 4 million who originally lost power, early Monday morning, and we didn't get it back for a couple days. And so, but as of now, we have power, and I'm glad I still have power and I have a warm place to sit. Although we're trying to keep it cool in here so that we can, try to share the rest of the power with the rest of the state and get some of these folks back online.
Yeah, and that's what the state is urging. I mean, listen, this is the world of electricity generation and grids. I'm no expert, but diving in, Josh, the last couple of days has been mind-blowing in its complexity. The finger pointing is going everywhere. In your mind, from where you sit, where was the real breakdown, or was it literally the perfect storm of problems?
I've never seen all 254 counties of Texas under a winter storm warning at the same time. I mean, we do our best to plan for events, but I mean, this is beyond anything that I believe any reasonable person would have,
And another thing, because, yes, these are, rare events, but again, something like this, not quite as bad, happened in 2011, and they have had other issues since then, and because of climate change, and we're going to have more and more of these drastic weather events. Like, these idiots are still pushing talking points like, oh, it's cold in Texas, so I guess global warming isn't a thing anymore. No, climate change, leads to drastic weather events. So shit like these chaotic winter storms in southern states are going to become more and more of a thing. So we need to plan for this not being a 1 in every 100-year event. It's going to start being a 1 in every 5-year event, especially the way we're going, not adapting to more renewables quicker.
Said would have happened at the same time. And so, it is somewhat of the perfect storm. I mean, you have a bunch of homes in Texas, about 60% of homes in Texas use electricity for heating. The other 40% use natural gas. And the state grid is really built around our summer peaks. I mean, that's what we're kind of famous for. 4 p.m. August afternoons, it's 105 degrees outside. You're trying to run every single air conditioner in the state, and that's what we are looking. That's what our system is set up for. But the difference between then and now is there's competition for that natural gas. In the summer, it's all going to power plants. And this time, a lot of it's going for heating, and there just was not enough to go around. Then we had freeze-offs at wells and pipelines, and power plants couldn't get cooling water. A third of our thermal fleet went offline. Some of our wind turbines did freeze. I mean, it was a perfect storm of things. We could not match supply and demand, and when you cannot match supply and demand,
somebody used the sound alert. All right, awesome.
You have to shut people off, or the whole thing goes down, and that can take weeks to turn back on. It'd be terrible.
And as people still freeze, it's become this political football, which is just, to be honest with you, kind of gross. And people are pointing fingers, saying, "Oh, it's the renewables," and then no, it's natural gas. Last night on the news with Shepard Smith.
Yeah, hold on. Just probably should have done this in a different order. Well, I see a couple people in the chat said they hadn't seen, but this is basically because everybody on the right wing is funded by fossil fuel companies. So when this happened, they had to immediately push out the propaganda that this was actually because of the green energy in Texas. And apparently the Green New Deal was to blame. The Green New Deal that hasn't been implemented yet was to blame for the problems in Texas. Even though only 13% of Texas's power comes from green energy, somehow it was responsible for the whole state freezing the fuck over. But that's not the right clip. But this was the gist of the talking point. I'm sorry, 7%.
Windmills. Then it got cold, and so unbeknownst to most people, the Green New Deal came to Texas. The power grid in the state became totally reliant on windmills. Then it got cold, and the windmills broke, because that's what happens in the Green New Deal. You're without power. Millions are still without power tonight. Several have died. Now, the same energy policies that have wrecked Texas this week are going nationwide. They're coming to your state. So
imagine having the balls to even say that out loud, that Texas, the bastion of the GOP, the beacon of, oh, this is how conservatism should be, and this is why being a Republican is the way to go. Trying to say, oh, the Green New Deal has ruined Texas, and the damn liberal energy policies are the reason Texas is having issues. But so that was basically, there were some other ridiculous clips, but that's basically the talking point.
I showed our viewers the actual numbers. The decline in power the 2 days of the storm versus the 5-day average was down about 25 to 30% for all the major generation. Natural gas, wind, coal, and nuclear. Only solar outperformed. The bottom line is...
Did you catch that? The only sector of energy that outperformed was solar. Like, it actually increased its performance over the last week, whereas every other energy sector failed by 25-30%, and that was the reason for the blackouts. And apparently it was almost way worse. Like, apparently the energy grid got so overloaded that we almost had like massive blackouts for what would have been months. Apparently, I didn't get to finish reading the story earlier, but apparently that almost happened.
Everything kind of failed, right? To your point, you buy a cheaper turbine that doesn't have carbon blades or de-icing, that we never thought the pipelines would get this cold. The coal literally froze in place and was unable. There are things we can learn from this, Joshua, but this was, to your point, maybe not a 100-year storm, but darn close.
Yeah, I mean, and, we had some similar weather back in 2011. And we did a commission, we did studies, and we looked at, what do we need to do? And we looked at what best practices were for some of these entities, some of the gas lines, some of the cooling water intake lines. And we came up with a series of best practices, but we made it voluntary. And it appears that...
And there, boom goes the dynamite. This happened, it was actually during the Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys remember. But 2011, they had the Super Bowl down in Texas, and it got extremely cold. Not to this level. Like, this is worse than it has ever been before, I think. Not ever, but I mean, you know what I mean. But they did a report and said, okay, this, you need to do X, Y, and Z. But as he said, because of Texas's fucking Wild West unregulated market, it was voluntary. And because companies aren't going to do something that they think is only like is a black swan event, like they're just not going to do it unless they're forced to. If something's only going to happen once in every 50 years, or you know what I mean? So because they weren't made to do it, even though they were warned and said, hey, you need to do this shit, they didn't do it. And that's why people are dead, people are freezing, because after all, nobody's going to pay the price for this. You know what I mean? Like maybe some bullshit commission will be formed. Probably not even that. We'll have some Senate hearings, but nobody in any position of power is going to be held accountable for people literally dying because these companies didn't do what was recommended to them 10 years ago.
You know, a lot of them didn't, do those things. And so, I mean, I hope this time we make it compulsory.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point we had, over 4 million customers, without power during the coldest that this state has
crazy.
ever been across it.
Looks
That's
like
just
out here.
unacceptable.
And homes that are largely not insulated to handle this because you are a warm weather state. You try to keep the homes cool, not warm. And that's the problem, right? Spent 10 years ago, hey, spend a lot of money to upgrade for things that may not happen but once every 10 or 20 years. And a lot of people ignored it. And hopefully this time things will get done. And maybe, Joshua, ERCOT will be forced to share those pipes with some of the other grids. We will see.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching.
At least it's on brand.
Shut up. But yeah, so that, I mean, here's another clip. Some of the dumb shit they were saying.
Casey just reported millions of Americans in the cold and dark say the lack of power is because of green energy policies and the vilification of oil, gas, and coal. The stuff that really keeps you warm. Coming up, we're looking out for you. The energy wars will focus in.
Oh, imagine saying something that ridiculously fucking, just that ridiculous, and then saying, we're looking out for you. The vilification of oil, yes. Poor oil companies. They've just been so vilified for absolutely no reason with their billions of dollars in subsidies to, make our world progressively worse every single year. It's like it's the same thing with the BP oil spill. Like a $500,000 part, I don't know if it was like a bearing or some kind of something, I don't know, oil stuff, but some kind of part that costs like $500,000. If those oil rigs would have been outfitted with that, it would have saved the hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever that the BP oil spill cost. Not to mention all the effects around it, things dying, businesses on the coast getting fucked up, there's a lot of effects because of the BP oil spill. But they were told years in advance, like, hey, you need to put this part on these oil rigs. Otherwise, you might have an issue down the road. And it was $500,000, which is not shit when you're BP oil. And they didn't do it. And that, that's why, I understand how regulations can be bad. Being, in the trucking industry, I know how, like, the electronic logs was kind of a dumb regulation in the way they implemented it. Like, regulations can be bad in certain ways, but some regulations are good. And when it comes to shit like this, when it's these big companies, like, they always want to fuck over the little guy with regulations. Like, they want to make truck drivers have these bullshit electronic logs that handcuff you and making it like more difficult to do your job. But when it comes to making giant oil companies or giant power companies do their, make their systems more secure, you know, like fuck that, let's not do that, right? But, you know, let's make sure them truck drivers are logging when they go on lunch. It's just it's ridiculous how like they pick and choose what regulations to implement. Yeah, we almost the state. Shannon, you live in Texas? Yeah, that's basically what I got from the story, is that the power grid got so overloaded that they basically almost lost the entire thing, and it would have took months to restore. And this like was so close to happening, which is extremely scary. But okay, this is a I live in Austin. Oh, okay. Austin's a cool ass town. I like Austin. The BP spill in the Gulf is awful. Rick Scott is a POS. So speaking of conspiracy things, like this was just weird. I don't know, for some reason Tucker Carlson doesn't buy Joe Biden and Jill Biden's marriage. This was just an odd little clip that I saw.
And at the heart of this great American family is a love story. One man, one woman, and the fires of passion that changed the course of our history. Not since Anthony dined with Cleopatra in downtown Antioch, before they killed themselves, obviously, has a country witnessed a love story as moving and poignant as Jill and Joe's.
Again, just think of all the bad shit going on in the country right now. Like, there are so many, examples of the little guy getting shit on, which Tucker supposedly stands for. We have, millions of people are, affected by COVID, about to get kicked out. People aren't getting stimulus checks. Like, there's just so much bad shit going on. And the primetime #1 news channel, well, not #1 anymore, I guess, because Newsmax has taken their glory, but Tucker Carlson is spending time on Jill and Joe Biden's marriage is apparently a PR scam. And we wonder why the right is full of conspiracy theories.
No, ladies and gentlemen, Jill Biden is not Joe's caretaker. She isn't his nurse. She's his fully equal romantic partner. Together, they are like besotted teens, yet at the same time, they are the wise and knowing parents of a nation. As a headline from Politico on Valentine's Day put it, quote, historians and relationship experts agree. The first couple's romantic gestures aren't just genuine, they're restorative. So it's official. The Biden's affection is totally real. It's in no way part of a slick PR campaign devised by cynical consultants determined to hide the president's senility by misdirection. Not at all. Their love is as real as climate change. And at the heart of this great American...
Like, what the fuck was that? You know what I'm like? What even is that? I don't understand what that whole take was even about. Like, that's one I haven't even heard the QAnon people talk about that one, honestly. Joe Biden and Jill Biden, is the whole thing's a PR stunt and she's actually his nurse. That one's odd. Oh. Let's see what else. And then we had the AOC thing, but I don't know. We might save that for next time. Then we had Lauren. Here's Lauren Boebert at the GameStop hearing. Like, look at these fucking office decorations. Like, what even is this? I don't get it. But yeah. Anyway. So yeah. Anyway, I gotta keep this one kind of short tonight. I got some shit I gotta go over. But yeah, so I don't know. What do y'all think? Fucking is Ted Cruz gonna actually face some backlash for this, or is it just gonna be completely forgotten in 2 days? How is Fox News even considered news? I mean, are they really though? I mean, not by anybody who really understands what new. I mean, they're basically just entertainment. They're infotainment is basically what they are. Keeping their audience on their toes. Yeah, I guess. I mean, you would think they'd be upset. I mean, like this is something that you should be able to easily get behind. And that's like that's another one of the reasons I was pissed at Marcus's take is like, this is something that anybody in Texas can look at and see how it's affecting their lives. And when it's easily explained, and they should see how this is affecting their lives. And then on top of that, to have one of their 2 senators up and just dip out and say, deuces, I'm going to Mexico, something that, most of the people affected have probably never done in their lives, let alone just being able to, on a whim, just go to a $300 a night hotel and bail out when they're, they don't have any power. That's not a luxury most people have, especially right now. So if you can't get behind saying fuck you to that, I mean, I don't know. You're just you're just lost at that point. You're just a partisan hack. You don't think? I honestly don't see how Cruz gets any backlash for this. I mean, I don't know. It's so, it's hard to say, man, because the conservative media sphere is so good at minimizing these stories. Like, this just happened today, and you already have people like Tim Pool and, the Candace Owens, the Terrence K. Williams of the world. You already have an army of people minimizing it and putting out the talking points. And if people that are already on the right have a set of talking points, I'm looking in the wrong camera. If people on the right already have a set of talking points that they can go to as to why they don't have to care about a story, then it makes them less likely to care about a story. And that's what makes it hard to get anybody to switch sides, because there's no like objective truth anymore. It's just whatever your side comes up with for bullshit. You know what I mean? What did Cruz do? I was late. In a nutshell, well, it'll be up after. I did a few TikTok videos about it if you want to check those out. But in a nutshell, he basically left Texas, went to Cancun, Mexico, got caught, and then lied about it. And then after he lied about it, got caught, flew back here, he blamed his children. But supposedly he's not running again for Senate. Oh, I don't believe that. No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, Fox is totally infotainment. I mean, that's how they want. That's how Tucker won that lawsuit against that one lady, because he said that people shouldn't take him seriously. But that's under wraps. People don't see that. I mean, they only if they want to. Yeah, exactly. That was my point. Like, send the wife and kids. That's totally fine. You have the means to do it. Send your wife and kids. Who gives a shit? But you're a fucking senator. You need to stay there. There's a lot of ignorant voters in Texas. There's a lot of ignorant voters everywhere. Most people aren't tuned in. I would say even out of all the people that vote, I would say maybe 15% of everybody that votes is really like day-to-day informed on the issues. You know what I mean? Like, even when I've worked on several different campaigns, even like the people that I worked on campaigns with, for the most part, I mean, they didn't really know what was going on like a day-to-day basis. They didn't understand like all the inner workings of like politics and media. Like it's not because they weren't smart or anything. It's just like they might have like a life outside of like following fucking Twitter every day, you know what I mean? Or they have kids. Like if you have like kids and a full-time job and you don't, and you like occasionally want to watch like a fucking show on HBO, it's hard to keep up with all the fucking complexities of what's going on day to day in politics. Oh yeah, Cruz. No, that's the thing. Cruz is definitely going to run for president. I don't think he'll win. Yeah. No. Well, Republicans have. Republicans just don't care. Like that's the thing. Like Republicans don't receive backlash because they're, for the most part, their voting base doesn't give a shit. And I mean that's true on the left to an extent. Like enough criticism doesn't come from either side when it comes to their own members. Like even like, you know, like when I criticize the 2 times I've criticized Marcus, I've gotten a lot of backlash from people who even like me or like my content because they're like, oh, well, you know, he's usually right, so whatever. It's like, well, that doesn't matter if he's usually right. Like he's wrong. He had a bad take in this instance. You know, and while there is some pushback with the Cuomo thing from like the left on like YouTube and Twitter, there's not as much pushback as there should be from like the mainstream media sources about the Cuomo thing. You know what I mean? So that's an unfortunate thing that there's just never enough criticism of people on the same side. And yeah, it's unfortunate. But it's especially true in Republicans' case because they just don't give a shit. Like, you know, for instance, like what happened with Al Franken would have never happened if he was on the right. Like Roy Moore was literally pretty much confirmed to be a pedophile, and they all backed him for the Senate. You know what I mean? That's just how they roll. Sweden official, thanks you for joining the misinformation and following. Be honest though, if AOC had done this, the left would be defending her like the right is. No, I don't think so. Not to the. I mean, not to the extent. AOC of course has her stands, and people are going to defend people on the left just because they're on the left, but it's not to the same level. Like there's blatant hypocrisy on the left when it comes to people, but it's not, in my experience, it's not to the level of people on the right. You know, like one of my first ever YouTube videos was criticizing Andrew Cuomo for, I don't even remember what it's for now. But, you know, like people on the right make a habit, especially media figures, of just completely being just partisan hacks and doubling down no matter what. Like there's definitely grifters on the left and people that just are bad faith no matter what. I just don't think it's, you know what I mean? It's not the same level. Do I like Trump? What? No. Fuck no. You must, well, I mean, if you just followed, I guess you must be new to my content, but no, that's a hard no. We should never done that in the first place. I don't know. I guess I missed the first part of that. From the outside looking in, that seems like a big part of the problem. There's always a, I mean, well, that is one of the biggest problems is we don't hold, like, there's just no completely unbiased news source anymore. And that's one of the biggest problems is we just don't have that, like, completely unbiased, here is what is going on. Like, everything is kind of like, here's my take from my side of the aisle as I see things. Like, everybody kind of has their own brand. And, you know, that can be good, but it can also be kind of a bad thing. And, you know, like, I have definitely like being somebody who is on the left, I'm definitely gonna critique people on the right more. But I mean, really, that's kind of like, I'm not like a straight news guy. Like I, do content about the news and do updates on the news, but my content is more geared towards calling out the right, conspiracies, debunking, fact checking, things like that. So, I'm not just gonna, like, I'm not just like a straight news guy. You know what I mean? So, I mean, everything's biased, I guess, is the way. I look like a Republican. That's terrible. I mean, I'll take it. Whatever. Oh, that's funny. No, conservative media is not media. I mean, only in like the technically it's media, but that's it. It's just propaganda, is what it is. Unbiased has turned, yeah, that's unbiased has turned into trying to give equal time to every side in a story or story. Well, that's like, and that's where like mainstream media has fucked up, because in a way, like, I wouldn't even say like CNN and MSNBC, they don't have a left-leaning bias, they have an establishment bias. And because the right has gone so cuckoo, it makes people think that, oh, these people have like a left-wing establishment bias. Like, no. Like CNN and MSNBC, they have a hard-on for people like John McCain and Mitt Romney and what's her face now, Liz Cheney, just as much as they do establishment left-wing figures. But just there's so much chaos on the right that they're always reporting things like, oh, well, look at what this fucker did today. You know what I mean? Look at what Matt Gaetz did today. So it seems like they have a right-wing bend or a left-wing bend, but they really don't. You know what I mean? Oh, Dancing with Doge has subbed to the propaganda. All right. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. I mean, he seems conservative, driving big trucks. Actually, a lot of truck drivers are Yang supporters, Yang and Bernie supporters, which was something I was actually surprised to learn, even when I was a truck driver, because like I had like a Bernie sweater I used to wear all the time, and like, you kind of, being at like truck stops and like, you see a lot of like MAGA, like the last couple of years when I was driving, you see a lot of like MAGA stuff and a lot of, Trump people out on the road. And I wouldn't have thought that, but then like, a lot of the poll numbers said like, oh, Doge, thanks so much, man. You gifted 5 subs. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate or person, man, woman, camera, TV. Dancing with Doge gifted 5 subs. Thanks a lot, my homie. Much appreciated. I am so behind on comments. I don't even know where I'm at anymore. I don't even know what I'm fucking talking about anymore, guys. Sorry. I had a point to make, but then he gifted 5 subs and I kind of fucking lost my train of thought. Shit. Fox is backwards. Yes. Yeah, thanks a lot, my guy. I really appreciate that. That was fucking awesome. You're literally the person that brought me to Twitch. I can't believe I hadn't done this sooner. Thanks for your awesome work. Oh, thanks a lot, my guy. Appreciate it. Hope that Dogecoin goes to the moon. I was in for a little bit. I bailed out recently, but I rode the wave for a little bit, but I sold. I got out. I got scared. He got that GameStop money. Fox News watchers are just not funny anymore because of misinformation. The misinformation is definitely becoming dangerous. And that's something I want to talk about tomorrow, is some of the misinformation campaigns. But I have a thing I got to do here in about 20 minutes, so I kind of ran out of time, but I wanted to definitely stream again tonight because fuck, it's been a while. I had some shit going on, some family shit. I won't get into it, but it was some just chaotic shit and it sucked. But pretty much got it figured out now. But yeah. But yeah, the right, man, is just it's scary. There's a difference between accuracy and bias. Also, Fox News is legally registered as entertainment. Yeah. Well, you know, the thing is another problem with media now is that a thing that scares me with media is that because there's not like a real like overseas threat, or people really don't concern themselves with like Afghanistan, or like they kind of do it with Russia to an extent, but because there's not like another enemy that they can get like big ratings off of, they've turned the enemy into the other. So, like the biggest ratings boost for somebody like CNN is stuff on the Capitol riots or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's how they juice their ratings. So like making everybody on one side fear the other side is kind of a way that media has really fucked up our system. So like the thing that people are most scared of in our country right now is people of the other political ideology, which is pretty scary. Somebody just followed and I didn't say what it was. Son of a bitch. Whoever just followed, thanks for following. I much appreciate it. Necromongers? Is that like a necromancer? But, yeah, no, it's good to be back. Good to, be back in the, somebody's message got restricted. I mean, I am rather scared of most Republicans. I'm just, like, the biggest thing with my content is I just want to try to like inform people on the other side. Like obviously like people that are going to watch my content for the most part, like the streams and stuff, are going to be on the left, but like on my TikToks and stuff, like I just want to like be able to break through to some people that have a right-wing lean, like, hey, what they're feeding you is bullshit. And I think like we don't have to win everybody over. That's what like I always try to stress. Like there is probably 60 to 70% of people who vote Republican that just aren't reachable. But if we can get that like 30%, or if we can even get half of that, if we can get the 15%, then we can win every single election. And if we don't get those people, if we don't try to sway them over to the other side, it's possible we could have another Trump scenario. But next time it'll probably be worse. And that's really like what I want to try to avoid. So if I do anything with my content, if I can just avoid fascism becoming cool again, or like cool enough to win the presidency, that would be nice. Also, if not everybody believed that the Democrats was just a giant cabal of Satan worshiping baby eaters, that would be nice. But, that's kind of, and that's why I focus so much on like, right-wing people and like their arguments, talking points, shit like that. Speaking of which, Steven Crowder, he had a conversation with Alex Jones. I watched like 10 minutes of that. It was pretty interesting, but we'll have to watch that tomorrow night. But yeah, so I gotta run, guys, but I really, really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for the subs. If you guys aren't following me on Twitch, definitely follow me on Twitch. The link is down in the description. Because at the end of the month, I'm going to be streaming exclusively on Twitch. So make sure you follow me over there. Also, join the Discord, because I post like news articles and different stuff. And we have, like a cool community over there, trying to grow. And, you can chat in there and You can send me videos and different shit, or you want to talk to. You can share your queue experience. I don't know. If you know how Discord works, it's a Discord server, so yeah. But yeah, definitely check that out. And when do you stream normally? Normally, I usually stream about 4 or 5 nights a week, and usually 7 o'clock Central is when I start streaming. Usually 6 or 7 o'clock Central. So yeah, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central, I'll be back on. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, make sure you guys leave a like, everything. Thanks so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you again tomorrow night. Peace out. Deuces. Yeah.